Yeah, anyway, I just want to throw up a little video how I make bee boxes. It may not be the safest way, so that's why I don't call it how to do it video. It's how I did it video. If I can find my pencil. Spend majority of my time looking for tools. Guys, I've got a messy shop. It's just limited space to put everything, and you just can't get rid of anything. My buddy Jason over at Hardway Farms, he'll agree to that. As y'all all know, I run medium frame hives. I like that because I can manipulate things easier. I don't have to wonder if I'm going to have a deep frame to this is a brand new board. I'm assuming that this is this square is square. When you buy these boards, most of the time they're not exactly square on the end. I don't know if you can tell the difference in the width there. So I square one end of it before I start. I'm not a carpenter. I've never claimed to be a carpenter. And it's a bee box. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not doing intricate shelving or trim work. But it does help if you start with the square. And I'm just going to freehand this with with my little battery powered saw, just to it's going to be a little squarer than it was. I'm going to make some 10 frames. Hey, there's my other pencil. Measure twice and cut once. There we go. I cut all my pieces to length first before I rip them down. These are 1/8, and they're too tall. They need to be 6 5/8 instead of 7 1/4. So I'll set up my little table saw, and out of a 8-foot board, this is what I have left over, which is enough for one piece. It's 24 3/4 left over from my 8-foot board. And I can make a couple of end pieces for nooks, where I can make a side piece, so it's not waste. There's still a lot of usable material there. When I set my saw up, like I said, this is just an old homeowner model Craftsman, and I'll probably be in the way, but I measure to the inside of it 6 5/8 on the leading edge of it, and then I measure the rear of it too to make sure it's square. And you can use a square to check your saw blade, see if it's running true up and down. That's just the way I do things. But this the way this is set, I can't use my little miter gauge, so I'm just going to have to hand feed it through here, and maybe a little loud. Let me back this over here just a little bit. Try to get this set where you might can see. I don't know. but I run 2 table saws just because I can. This one's set up with a dado blade. I was just running 1 saw, and I was having to change these blades back and forth all the time. So I went and borrowed my dad's table saw. This one's my old saw. It's missing the extension on this side. But I set this up. Set this up for 3/8 depth, and I'll do the edge. I'll do these edges 3/4 inches in and 3/8 inches deep. 3/8 inches deep and 3/4 inches where this inside will set in there. And this arbor on this motor isn't quite long enough to get a full 3/4 inches. So I just kind of eyeball it. You want to get your tooth as tallest point to get your depth. And like I said, I just kind of eyeball it. I'll run it across there. So yeah, it was unplugged. See, it's not quite, I can tell, so I need to make one more pass about the thickness of 1 cutter. See that or not. I just do the same thing on the other side. The next step I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to make a cut on the top. So I'll probably cut this little knotty area out. I've got to make it 5/8 inch deep and 3/8 inches in. So this frame will sit inside. So this frame will sit down inside of it. That's basically how I make my end pieces. It don't take a lot of time to do that. And now I'll put some hand cuts in it, and this is the dangerous part too. When you're putting your handhold cuts in it, you want to make sure you've got them on the right side. I have cut them upside down. I'm not perfect. I'll do the side pieces. These I just kind of eyeball. Try to get it semi in the center. Like I said, this jig with the way that saw sets inside of this jig, it's kind of misleading as far as where center is. I mean, it takes a little time to do all these, but if you just got a few hives, you know, and you don't want to go to trouble doing all this, you know, it's probably cheaper to buy it than it is to do all this. It takes a little trial and error to get your angle right on your jig and the depth of your saw blade. So if you got something you can use as a dedicated tool, you know, when you find your setting, leave it there. But that's how I make my beehive bodies. Now I'll glue and staple these all together. I just got a Harbor Freight stapler. I need a few staples. I use Titebond 3 wood glue. It's more waterproof. Staple these together. You need to look at your hand holes. Make sure you got them on the right side also. But I don't know if these will be perfect. There's a little give on this, so I'm going to have to drive these staples down. And I'll just do the other side the same way. And be generous with your glue, because this is going to be sitting outside in the elements and everything else. Make sure you get your hand holes in the right direction, because it will it'll mess you up if you don't. So this ain't necessarily a how-to video. There's how I build my bee boxes.